Top 10 African American Research Topics. The issue of class oppression among African Americans. In this paper, you can explore how class and race intersect in African American identities. How does it lead to class oppression experienced by modern African Americans? You can focus on discrimination this population group faces in housing, education, healthcare, and economic opportunities. African Americans, Stereotypes and Prejudices. For this topic, you can explore common stereotypes and prejudices that have affected African Americans throughout history. What are the origins of these stereotypes? Do they persist in modern society? How can we challenge them? Answer these questions in your paper. The African American soldiers in the American Revolution. Here, you can explore the contributions and experiences of African American soldiers during the American Revolution. What unique challenges did they face? How did these soldiers influence the struggle of African Americans for equal rights and freedoms? Cardiovascular disease in the African American population. According to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, in 2019, African Americans were 30% more likely to die from heart disease than non-Hispanic white people. But why are African Americans more vulnerable to cardiovascular diseases? You can answer this question in your paper. Focus on factors like genetics, socioeconomic status, healthcare access, and lifestyle choices. Higher education for African American women, problems and challenges. This topic encourages you to investigate African American women's unique challenges when pursuing higher education. For example, you can analyze the role of financial constraints and cultural expectations. You can also research successful programs and policies that improve African American women's education access and retention. African Americans and politics in the media. In this essay, you can explore how the media affects public perceptions of African American politicians. Are political media portrayals of African Americans generally positive or negative? What messages do they aim to convey? You can also explore the role of media in shaping African American political activism. Obesity in African Americans, prevention and therapy. According to the CDC, Black adults have the highest prevalence of obesity among different population groups. Statistics show that almost half of African American adults are obese, and these rates are higher among women than men. Why is it so? How can we design prevention and treatment strategies tailored to the unique challenges African Americans face? The portrayal of African Americans in movies. In this research paper, you can review how the portrayals of African Americans in cinema evolved over time. Did these representations reflect public opinions of their time, or did they actively shape societal perceptions of African Americans? You can also explore how contemporary movies challenge stereotypes and prejudices against African Americans. African Americans and equality under the law. This topic allows you to explore African Americans' struggle for legal recognition of their rights. To support your discussion, you can analyze landmark court cases, legislation, and policies that shaped the legal landscape for African Americans. You can also tackle contemporary issues like police brutality and racial profiling. How have African Americans changed sports? In this essay, you may discuss how African Americans contributed to the U.S. sport. Start by exploring the challenges they faced in the times when they were not allowed to join major leagues. How did they manage to transition from being racially segregated to becoming American sports icons? What is the significance of African American athletes as role models and agents of change? Find more research topics on studycorgi.com.